The Maple Lantern was a cozy little pub tucked away on the edge of Crestwood's downtown, its wooden beams glowing under amber lights and the faint hum of jazz drifting from a corner speaker. Ethan Harper sat at a high-top table near the window, his fingers drumming nervously on a glass of untouched whiskey. At 34, he was a senior architect at a prestigious firm, the kind of man who designed sleek skyscrapers that redefined city skylines. His navy blazer was tailored, his dark hair neatly combed, and the silver cufflinks on his shirt caught the light with every anxious movement. On paper, Ethan's life was a triumph. In truth, it felt like a blueprint with no soul. His older brother Marcus had orchestrated this blind date, claiming Ethan needed to stop living in his head and meet someone real. Ethan had resisted for weeks, citing deadlines and late-night revisions, but Marcus was relentless. "You're not getting any younger, and you're married to your drafting table," he'd said. So here, Ethan was 15 minutes early, his lifelong habit of never keeping anyone waiting, scrolling through emails he wasn't reading. The pub door swung open, and a woman stepped inside, shaking rain from a burgundy umbrella. She was in her late 20s, with auburn hair pulled into a loose braid and a green sweater that looked soft and lived in. Her hazel eyes scanned the room, landing on Ethan with a quiet confidence that made his pulse stutter. She wasn't stunning in the way magazine covers demanded, but there was something about her, something warm and unguarded, that made the room feel smaller. "Ethan." Her voice was clear with a hint of a smile. He stood too quickly, nearly knocking over his glass. "Yes, hi. You're Lily." He extended a hand, and she shook it firmly, her grip steady but not cold. "Lily Carter," she confirmed, sliding into the seat across from him. "Thanks for meeting me. I know these setups can be weird." Ethan chuckled, the tension in his shoulders easing slightly. "My brother's convinced I'm one step away from becoming a hermit." "You," Lily grinned. "My best friend Sarah. She's been on my case since I turned down the last 3 guys she tried to set me up with." A server appeared, and Ethan ordered a craft beer on tap. Lily asked for a hot cider, her hands wrapping around the mug when it arrived like she was savoring the warmth. The first few minutes were the usual dance of strangers, safe questions about jobs, favorite movies, the unseasonable rain outside. Ethan explained his work in architecture, glossing over the long hours to make it sound dynamic. Lily listened, nodding thoughtfully, her questions sharp but kind. "And you?" Ethan asked, leaning forward. "Sarah said you're in healthcare." "I'm a pediatric nurse," Lily said. "I work in the children's ward at St. Mary's Hospital. It's exhausting, but there's nothing like seeing a kid smile after a tough day." Ethan raised an eyebrow, genuinely impressed. "That's incredible. What made you choose nursing?" Lily's expression softened, but her eyes flickered with something deeper. "I had a nurse when I was a kid. She made me feel like I mattered when everything else felt heavy. I wanted to do that for someone else." There was a story there, one she wasn't sharing, and Ethan's curiosity stirred. But before he could probe, Lily tilted her head, studying him with an intensity that made him shift in his seat. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "You don't remember me, do you?" The question hit like a gust of cold air. Ethan froze, searching her face for a clue, a spark of recognition. Her features were striking, but unfamiliar. He was certain he'd never met her. "I'm sorry," he said slowly. "Have we met?" Lily's smile was small, almost wistful. 16 years ago. Crestwood High. You were Ethan Harper, star of the soccer team, always surrounded by people. I was Lily Carter, the quiet girl with the thrift store backpack who kept to herself. Ethan's mind reeled back to high school, a blur of green fields, roaring crowds, and the easy confidence of being 17. Crestwood High had been his kingdom for 3 years after his family moved to town. He'd been popular, charming the guy everyone wanted at their parties. But Lily Carter. The name didn't ring a bell. He shook his head, apologetic. "I'm sorry, Lily. I don't remember." "Were we in classes together?" "A couple," she said. "But we didn't run in the same circles." "You were... well, you. I was the girl who ate lunch in the library to avoid the cafeteria." Ethan's stomach twisted. He remembered the cafeteria, the loud tables, the cruel hierarchy of who sat where. He remembered jokes, sharp and thoughtless, tossed around by his teammates. Jokes he'd laughed at, or at least never challenged. "Lily, let me finish," she said, gently raising a hand. "I need to say this." Ethan knotted his throat tight. The pub's warmth felt stifling now. "When Sarah told me she'd set me up with Ethan Harper, I almost backed out," Lily continued. "Because back then you and your friends made my life difficult. Not you specifically, not always. You didn't shove me into lockers or spread rumors. But you were there, Ethan. You saw it. You laughed sometimes. And there was one night, one moment I've never forgotten." Ethan wanted to bolt to escape this reckoning, with a past he'd buried under years of ambition and polished resumes. But Lily's gaze held him not with anger, but with something raw, a need to be heard. "It was the fall of your senior year," she said. "There was a bonfire party out at Miller's Field. Everyone was there, your crowd, the popular kids. I wasn't invited, of course. I was working that night, waiting tables at the diner on Elm Street to help my mom pay rent. I got off late around 11, still in my uniform, a ugly polyester thing, with a coffee stain I could never scrub out." Ethan's memory stirred faintly. Miller's Field. The bonfire had been epic, a night of cheap beer and louder music. He'd been there reveling in his senior year glory. "I was walking home," Lily went on. "It was cold and I took the shortcut past the field. The party was still going, music blasting, people laughing. I kept my head down, trying to disappear like always. But you were there, sitting on a log, away from the fire, looking, I don't know, lost. Like something was weighing on you." A fragment of memory surfaced. Ethan remembered sitting alone that night, nursing a beer and a bruised ego. His girlfriend Megan had been flirting with someone else and he'd stormed off to sulk, too proud to admit he cared. "I walked past," Lily said, "and you looked up. I braced myself, expecting you to call out to make some joke about the diner girl crashing the party, but you didn't. You asked if I was okay, if I should be walking alone that late. I mumbled that I was fine, that I lived close by. And then..." Her voice caught just for a moment. "You did something I didn't expect." Ethan leaned forward, barely breathing. What? You pulled a crumpled $10 bill from your pocket and held it out. You said, "Take the bus, at least. It's too cold to walk." I was so mad, Ethan. Mad at you, at your friends, at the world, that made me feel small. I told you I didn't need your money. And you know what you said? He shook his head, dreading the answer. You said, "It's not about need. It's about not letting someone walk home alone in the dark. Please." You looked so earnest, like you meant it. So I took the money. I took the bus. And I sat there staring at that $10, trying to figure out how the guy who laughed when his friends called me diner girl could also be the guy who cared if I got home safe. Ethan's mouth was dry. He had no memory of this, but he could imagine himself half-drunk, sentimental, trying to do something decent to offset his own pettiness. "Lily, I don't remember that night." I'm so sorry. I know, she said softly. That's why I'm telling you. When Sarah described you, a guy who's killing it at work, but never lets anyone close, I wondered if you remembered that moment. If you knew what it meant to me. Seeing you here all polished and successful, but lonely, I knew you didn't. Ethan swallowed hard. Why did you come tonight? Lily sipped her cider, now lukewarm. Because that moment, that small kindness from someone I'd written off as just another rich kid who didn't care, it changed something in me. It made me believe people could surprise you. That even the ones who hurt you might have something good in them. It's part of why I became a nurse, to see the person behind the pain, to give them a chance to be more. Ethan felt something fracture inside him, a wall he hadn't known was there. I was a stupid kid, he said quietly. I thought fitting in meant going along with everything. I didn't see you, Lily. Not really. And I hate that. I know, she said. We were all kids. But I needed to see who you are now. If that guy on the log was still in there under the fancy blazer and the big city job. Ethan laughed, a shaky sound that surprised him. You don't hold back, do you? Life's too short, Lily said, her smile warm but unflinching. I spent years feeling like I didn't belong. Now I speak my truth. They talked until the pub's lights dimmed, signaling closing time. Ethan opened up in ways he hadn't in years, about the pressure to outshine his father, a renowned engineer. About the skyscrapers he designed that felt hollow. About how he couldn't remember the last time he'd done something just for joy. Lily shared her own stories, her mom's struggle after her dad left the kids she nursed through cancer and car accidents. The tiny apartment filled with second-hand furniture and laughter. When they stepped outside, the rain had stopped, leaving the air crisp and clean. They lingered on the sidewalk, neither ready to part. I almost bailed tonight, Ethan admitted. Told Marcus I had a presentation. Total lie. Lily grinned. I'm glad you didn't. Me too. He hesitated, then pushed forward. Could we do this again? Not a setup, just us. I'd like to know the woman who saw something in me I didn't. Lily considered him, her eyes bright under the streetlight. One condition, name it. No more fancy pubs. There's a food truck by the hospital that makes the best tacos in town. Nothing glamorous, but it's real. Think you can handle that? Ethan smiled, feeling lighter than he had in years. I think the skyscraper guy needs to meet the taco truck girl. Might be good for him. For both of us, Lily said. They met again the next week and the week after. By their fifth date, Ethan was laughing more, sketching silly designs on napkins for Lily's amusement. She taught him to find beauty in small things, a kid's crayon drawing a perfect autumn leaf. He helped her see that her past didn't define her, that her strength was its own kind of brilliance. 8 months later, Ethan left his firm to start a nonprofit designing affordable community spaces, libraries, clinics, parks. The pay was a fraction of his old salary, but he woke up eager for the first time in years. A year after that, he proposed at the taco truck, kneeling on the pavement, with a ring he'd saved for months to buy. I keep thinking about that kid by the bonfire, he said, as Lily teared up. If I could tell him anything, it's that the moment he thought didn't matter would lead him to you. That kindness, even when we forget, it can change everything. Lily laughed through her tears. And I'd tell that girl with the stained uniform that one day someone would see her not as diner girl, but as everything. That our stories keep growing no matter how hard the early chapters were. They married the following spring in a community garden Ethan had helped design. Lily's patients sent handmade cards and her mom walked her down the aisle. It was simple, real, perfect. Years later, they'd tell their kids about the blind date that wasn't blind at all, a second chance neither had seen coming. about how we're all more than our worst moments, capable of growth if someone believes in us, and about how a $10 bill offered with a clumsy heart could spark a love that rebuilt 2 lives. Kindness is never wasted. It's just one human looking out for another. And sometimes it's everything. If this story moved you, share and subscribe for more tales of human connection and second chances. Comment below about a time someone saw the good in you when you couldn't. We all need those stories.